Hello, everybody. Want to talk about something today. I've been getting some comments, and actually, the more subscribers I get and the more people that view my videos, I'm starting to get more and more questions. So this is, and like I said before, this gives me ideas for content to try to help people sort out some different little issues that they're having. Today, this video is going to be about choosing the right arrows for your bow. And I've made videos in the past about arrows and arrow spine and hunting weight arrows and things like that. I've talked about that quite a bit, but this is how I determine what arrow I'm gonna shoot personally. This is the way I do it, and I'm gonna talk about several different things here real quick. Try to put this in perspective to save time, save money, and get you on the road to shooting your bow and enjoying it where your arrows are hitting what you're looking at. So anyway, okay, I'm gonna jump right into it. The first thing you're gonna want to try to determine, or not try to determine, what you're gonna determine is the correct spine of arrow for your bow. Okay. There's some things that you have to understand whenever you're choosing the spine of your arrow. Okay. Number one is draw length. Number two is weight of your bow, and the point weight. All of these things are going to be things that you're going to have to sort out whenever you're getting your or spining your arrows. Okay. And then the overall weight of the arrow obviously comes into play at some point during this. I'm going to try to explain spine to the folks that are brand new and they're trying to get the right arrows for their bow. And this may help some people too. This is kind of the way I do it. Okay, it's not kind of the way to do it. This is the way I do it to spine arrows for my bow. First thing you need to do is get a test kit. If you're going to shoot carbon arrows, or you're going to shoot wood arrows, or you're going to shoot aluminum arrows, or whatever, I promise you there is some place. There's Three Rivers Custom King Archery, Carson up there with Sherwood Shafts. He sells a test kit of shafts that if you're going to build your own arrows, that's fine. You can fletch them up and do them however you want, but you need to have some kind of an idea of what group of this test kit. A test kit would consist of one or two arrows of like 3 or 4 different spines. I think the one on Three Rivers is like 4 different spine weights. There's 2 arrows, so you get 8 arrows total. And these go up in about 5-pound increments, like 50, 55, 55, 60, 65, 70, or whatever. That's how that works. Get that test kit, okay? And now let me explain spine, especially for an ASL bow. Recurves that are cut past center, or some of these reflex deflex longbows that have recurve type risers. Your spine is still very critical, but it's a little easier to spine arrows for a bow like that, and I'll explain why. Hold on just a sec. An ASL bow like this, heel style, whatever you want to call it, American semi-longbow, these bows are not, the arrow shelf is not cut. Okay, it's not cut past center. All right, so when your arrow is on the string when it's at brace like it is now, the arrow, I'm trying to get where you can see this. I'm pointing the bow straight at the camera now, but you can see that arrow is pointing off out to the left. For a right-handed shooter, it's pointing off out to the left. Okay, now what has to happen during the shot, okay, is what they call archer's paradox. And if your arrows are spined properly, what happens is when you shoot that arrow, for a right-handed shooter, your riser's on this side. When you shoot, that arrow will load up, okay? It goes out, then it turns back, okay? And then the tail kicks back again, and what it does, it clears that riser, all right? And as it's going, shortly after it leaves the bow, what it does, if it's spined properly, it stops oscillating fairly quickly and flies straight and hits where you're looking, all right? Or it's hitting on the center line of what you're looking at. Now, that said, if your arrows are too weak, okay, they're more likely going to impact a little bit to the right of the center line of what you're shooting at. If they're too stiff, they're probably going to impact a little bit to the left over there because they don't have enough bend in them to get that out. Either way, if they're too stiff or too weak, you're not going to get good arrow flight. Your arrow's going to be looking like that or flying sideways a little bit through the air if they're not spined correctly. All right. There's a lot of videos out there talking about this exact same thing, but I'm gonna talk about how I spine my arrows and how I build my own arrows. It's very quick. It's very easy. A lot of people talk about, okay, let's just say you have a 50-pound bow and you're going to shoot a 150 grain point on the front of it. Okay. What's going to happen is with this test kit, you're going to get something that starts at about 45 to 50, and then 50 to 55, 55, 60. Okay, you've got a range right there. And with these 150 grain points that you're going to shoot, you put those 150 grain points, I skipped a little important step here. What you need to do is cut this test kit to the length of arrow you want to shoot. This is for instinctive shooters. Okay, now people that shoot gap shooting and stuff like that, where they use the point of the arrow as a reference or whatever to get their gap and all that, I'm not a gap shooter, so I don't know what to tell you about that. Okay, I would assume that part of this would apply, except for cutting your arrows to the length that you want. Maybe it does, I don't know. But with instinctive shooting, you cut those arrows, and there are several different ways to do that. Get someone to help you. You draw your bow, okay? Come to full draw. Have them mark the arrow where it's at the end of where your finger is, okay? Add a ½ inch, whatever, so you don't hit your finger with your broadhead. You can put a piece of cardboard on it. Just poke a hole in the center of it. Put it back here. Draw your bow, and then as that cardboard slides forward, mark about a ½ inch in front of that. That's the back of the point weight. Cut your arrows, cut your test kit to the length of arrow you want to shoot. Okay? You got 150 grain points, or 175, or whatever grain points it is you want to shoot. You put them on the whole test kit, all right? And you start shooting your bow. What I recommend is getting a piece of tape, duct tape, whatever, on your bail or whatever, and put a vertical line on that and stand back at about 15 steps or so, somewhere in there, and start shooting your bow with these various spine weighted arrows. Like I said, the ones that are too weak are going to be hitting to the right. Some. It may be this far to the right, it may be this far to the right, but if it's too weak, the weaker it gets, the further to the right it's going to get. If it's too stiff, if it's a little too stiff, it's going to be hitting a little bit, and if it's way too stiff, it's going to be hitting way over here. When you get a couple of those one of those spine weights is hitting very near the center line of that duct tape, then you're on the right track. You got the biggest part of the equation fixed right there. Okay? Once you have established that and your test kit is cut to the length of arrows you want to shoot, okay, and it's still not just exactly right. Now this is all kind of contingent on you having pretty solid shooting form. Okay, you can't just stand there and randomly pull arrows and keep shooting like that. You're going to have pretty solid shooting form and understand how your bow performs to make this work right. But with properly spined arrows, your groups are going to get tighter. You're going to have really good arrow flight, and it's going to impact very near the center of that duct tape or whatever kind of tape it is you use. Okay. Now, to adjust the spine weaker or stronger on that arrow, there's a couple of different ways to do that. Point weight, okay? If it's still showing a little bit too weak, okay, and your arrows just are impacting just a little bit to the right, lower that point weight from 150 to 125. Shoot it enough times. I'm talking about 10, 15 times. I'm not talking about once or twice. 10 or 15 times. And that should bring that over just a little bit. If it's too stiff with a 150 grain point and it's hitting to the left, okay, raise that point weight up. Go from 150 to 175 grain. And they sell test kits of field points as well. Glue on field point test kits. You can buy one of those. They're not very expensive. You can adjust fine tune that spine weight with just a little bit of point weight adjustment. Okay. Another thing that can affect a spine of an arrow is your brace height. Okay. All reputable bowyers have a range of where their brace height should be on their bows, their particular bows that they build. I think Northern Miss is 6 1/4 to 6 3/4. Start right in the middle at 6 1/2. Okay. Now you're talking about very fine tuning right there. If you go 2 or 3 twists or 4 twists on that string and it moves that brace height up 1/8 of an inch or something like that, your margin is very, very small. It's not going to be a whole lot. And now it may change a little bit of the tone of your bow, but it's not it's not going to be a huge change. You're not going to get inches of deflection one way or the other with that little bit of adjustment in your brace height. Point weight, that will change it quite a bit. Now a lot of this is dictated by the length of the arrow too. So an arrow that's spined at 50 pounds or 50 to 55, okay, but is 30 inches long, is going to have a weaker spine than an arrow that is spined at 50 or 55 that is 28 inches long. Okay, the shorter you cut it, the higher the spine is going to go up on the arrow, over the overall length of the arrow with the point on it and everything else. So keep that in mind. But what I'm telling you about the test kit, this will get you very, very close to getting the correct spine for your particular bow, whatever it is. And I would start with the test kit. What I would do is I would get a range. If you have a 50-pound bow, I would start with 45 50s, 50 55, 55 60s. I would err to the higher side, especially if you have a full 28-inch draw or whatever. If you have a shorter draw, if you have a 26-inch draw, I would drop that back a little bit. I would go to 40 45s, 45 50s, 50 55s, or something like that. That's where I would try to focus. Either side of that 28. If you're a shorter draw length, I would go a little bit lower, not a lot, but a little bit lower. And if you're a little bit longer draw length, if you're 28 or above, I would go a little bit higher to start with, because when you put that point on the front of that arrow, that is going to dictate how weak or how strong that spine is going to end up being for you. I'm hoping I'm making sense, and I'm hoping you may have to watch this video a time or two to get what I'm trying to say here, but that's what I do. Now, real quick, hunting weight arrows. This is the last part of this video. Your bow is only going to be so efficient, or is that to get the optimum efficiency out of your bow. If you have a 50-pound bow, or if you have a 50-pound bow, you want to try to go 10 to maybe 14 grains, start around 10 to 14 grains of total arrow weight per pound, per inch, per pound of weight. I hope I said that right. If you have, a 50-pound bow, and you should be shooting somewhere around a 500 grain arrow, or a little more, maybe 550, somewhere in there. 10 grains of weight per pound of bow is what I'm trying to say. All right. I think I'm saying that right. My bows are somewhere, they average somewhere around, right around 60 pounds, 58, 57, 58, 60 pounds, 61 pounds, somewhere in there. My arrow weight, total weight with the point on it and the feathers and everything else, is around between 650 and 675 grains. My bow is very quiet, without string silencers. It's very quiet. It's very fast. It's very efficient. I got good arrow flight. Those are the 4 things that you really want to get out of this. So I'm somewhere around the 12 grains or so per pound of draw weight. Okay, or inches, I guess is the best way to put it. 10 grains per inch per pound, I think, is how that goes. So anyway, 50-pound bow, you want a 550 grain arrow somewhere in there to start. You know, go up a little bit more or less and point weight, and that should help you out with that. But I hope this helps, guys. Get that test kit. Cut that test kit to the length of arrow you want to shoot. Don't overburden your bow with 800 grain arrows if you're shooting a 40-pound bow. You'll be a lot more efficient somewhere at around 450 or 500 grains. It'll be a lot more efficient. You'll have a lot more fun. And you know, that's the whole idea behind these videos, is to get you guys on your way to shooting your bow and enjoying hitting your target. So I hope this helps, guys. If you have any questions about this video or any of the comments or any of the content of this video, please get down in the comments and hit me up. I'll try to help you out as best I can.